didn't plan on saying anything, but that, some of those last comments pissed me off. That Thompson Hill Road being in such a state of disrepair that we had to divert roundabout money to pave it for a long weekend is garbage.
Yeah.
I lived with that road for
Yes.
18 years and navigated those potholes day after day after day, as did my family, as did my neighbors, as did everyone who went up and down that road. Rumor has it that the last supervisor said that that road would never get paved because of people like me who voiced their opinion as long as he was around. I don't know if that's true or not. It might be totally false, and if it's false, I'll take the blame for it. But nevertheless, that road was not paved. I've been there 18 years, it was never even touched. And to say that we had to spend God knows how much money and take it and divert it from the roundabout for a long weekend is bullshit. Flat out. And I hope Creighton Manning was not involved in that. You're from Creighton Manning, I presume, respectable firm, should not have been involved in diverting that kind of funds. For that reason, for a long weekend. Give me a break. God knows how many mufflers I went through and tires I went through because of the state of that road. Nobody gave a crap down here. Second thing, who paid, and I need this to be beat up on Chazen night, but who paid for Mr. Connors changing his bill during this whole casino debacle?
So, paid it through an escrow, as was established.
So we did not.
You did
Not a penny.
I didn't think so, I hope not, but I just wanted to get to it. Thank you.
Frank?
Getting back to the Thompson Hill pit, I agree with what you're saying. I got a question to ask. I've never seen anything like it. We paid Thompson Hill. I want to know if the taxpayers paid for all the laterals that are under that brand new road that are going to prospective development of the projects that are being done up there. How many laterals is that going to cost?
I can answer that question, Frank.
You can?
The developer paid for those infrastructure improvements.
He did? Nobody's answering. Did he or didn't he? Or did the
Yes,
taxpayers
they
pay
did.
for that?
Taxpayer didn't pay for any of that infrastructure.
The Shelley Construction, as a matter of fact, Jim Chazen's firm was construction oversight, provided construction oversight to that work. And the developer pays for water, so they pay for,
Who's the developer?
So how does that work
I don't,
as your
The
excuse
developer-
for paving a road for a roundabout? So all this infrastructure work got done previous because they didn't tear up the pavement to go across from one side of the road to the other. You're telling me, I know, that anybody can walk there and look, there's been underground work on that hill for laterals going from the septic or water to the other side. Is that correct, Joe? Or whoever? These buildings back there.
oh, Joe, I'm sorry.
Somebody-
Yes, they put it, water crossing, water mains on either side of the road.
Yeah.
Could you use the mic so we could hear, Hank?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just relating to my experience. I wasn't the engineer in the ground, I was doing some work in town, and this all happened. And, sewer and water connections that had to be made for this development, okay, involved crossing the road.
Well, I understand that.
And the developer had to pay for replacing the road the way it was there in Dublin. Not necessarily repaving the whole road, but for patching.
But you never had to dig it up because we, the taxpayers, paid for that road to be paved after the laterals were put
Yeah,
in.
I don't know.
That's correct.
Thank you. That's all I want to know.
Who's the developer?
Larry Davis.
And who's Larry Davis?
Yeah.
Jack Conway, 232 West Nashville. I'd like to wish everybody a happy holidays. It's been a really contentious 8 months, but from the bottom of my heart, I wish everyone in this town, everyone in this room, and everyone around us happy holidays and good fortune in the new year. I also think that the process issue with Jim Connors and Chazen, I think the process issue is important, but somebody needs to stand here and say that this is a good man and that's a good firm. Jim stood up at the public comment session at Columbia for the planning board and was immensely helpful, and their responses to the consistently shoddy work submitted by Saratoga Casino and Raceway was a tremendous service to this town. So whereas I agree the process issue needs to be addressed properly, this is a good firm and this is a man whose integrity is beyond question. So that needs to be said. What I
You
want-
just said it, and I agree with you.
Right? Fair enough.
Without question.
Without question. Where I want to start is the motion tonight to allow the public to file complaints with the Board of Ethics. The Code of Ethics was passed in good faith. The people who passed it, the people who drafted it, the people who spoke at the public hearing all believed that the public could submit complaints. So in good faith it was passed. We're now trying to rectify that, and I urge that you do. And here's why. Ed said at the last meeting, and I'm not here to pick on Ed or give him a hard time, but he made an interesting statement. He said, if the public files a complaint, it's he said, she said. But that's not really true, and here's why. If somebody signs a notarized, gets a notarized complaint and submits it to the Board of Ethics, the Board of Ethics determines whether there's cause to proceed. So all the nonsensical political attacks and irrelevancies and everything are weeded out. But if they determine there's cause to proceed, even in the minimal he said, she said scenario, here's what happens. The citizen who files the complaint comes in and is interviewed by the Board of Ethics. Separately, the town official comes in and is interviewed by the Board of Ethics. Here's what's achieved there. It's a statement that town officials believe they should answer to valid complaints issued by their people who elected them.
Here's a problem.
What's that?
Here's a problem.
Yeah.
Those three complaints that were made
Mm-hmm.
when it was identified that it wasn't appropriate for the public to file a complaint. I don't think 24 hours passed, Jack, before the whole town of East Greenbush knew about those complaints. All right, which is wrong.
No,
Because you know, and I'll tell you why. Here's the problem. You're going to be here's what I have a problem, and it's not for me. It's for future boards. All right, myself and future boards. There's a political element to what we do here. We're all elected officials, and much of which happens is in this business may not be based on what factually happened, perception. So, can you can only imagine what it would be like to be running for office, all right? And I'll use myself as an example, all right? And have that ethics code changed to make for public to provide a complaint against me, all right? Now, there's probably a few people in this room that don't care too much for me, all right?
That's all.
That's politics, yeah? So, but in an election year, quite possible they might use that as an attempt to, a week or two before an election cycle, say that Supervisor Langley had 20-some ethics code complaints filed against him, whether they were true, not true. A perception will be made. I will be judged, you could be judged,
No.
unless you can provide a security blanket with regards to a complaint. I don't know how you can possibly.
But that's there, Keith.
It's not there.
No,
It's just not there.
It's absolutely there. The
It's not.
first,
It's not even remotely there.
It's not even-
No, Jack, and don't, listen, whether or not we want to agree with Ed or not, he happens to be the elected chair of the ethics
Right.
board, and it wasn't done by this board, it was done
I
by
got
the
you,
ethics
I
board.
got you.
All right?
But Keith, this is the point, is that the first job of the Board of Ethics is determine whether there's cause to proceed. And what that means is that a valid complaint linked specifically to a clause of the Code of Ethics has identified a possible conflict of interest. They could throw 100 complaints at you 2 weeks before the election, and the Board of Ethics' responsibility is to look at those, read them, and put them in the circular file. That's built into the system. But here's why I say this.
But everything is open, it's open.
Well, it should